Our next guest fills up a big spot in my heart. We've become so close. We've traveled the world together. We just have so much fun together. And her story of her life and her business is incredible. We actually graduated from Biz Owners Ed together. There are a handful of people in this room tonight from 2014, class to remember. Kim Cloud, come on down. Come on up. Kiss your whole face.
I almost start crying just with you talking. So
Kim has so many incredible stories, so much incredible experience, bigger than life. She does so much for this community. But I think she's going to reach back to a few years ago when she had some really big stuff going on in her life. And if you cry, I cry.
well, we're gonna cry.
Let's hear your story.
So I met Rick in the 2014 class, and it goes back just a little bit further than that, sitting at Starbucks, and there was this man in a big cowboy hat, and he had his chocolate lab with him, and every Friday was the only time I would have allowed myself to go to Starbucks because I had a gift card from a client. Things were that bad, and so every Friday I'd go get in line at Starbucks, and there would be this man who would say hello, hello. And finally one week he asked me who I was and what I did, and I said, I'm a salon owner. Right down the street, I own Cloud9. He said, that's where my wife gets her hair done. And so they talked to me about a program that they had, and I definitely did not qualify. You had to be very successful, making a certain amount of income, not in business for more than a certain number of years. And at that time, I had already been in business.
Yeah, those pesky rules.
35 years. And so Betty told me, she came and got a haircut, and she told me that she selected one woman a year to bring into the class that really didn't deserve to be there, and that as long as I were, and I'm in. And,
help
she
me,
told
I'm
me,
poor.
yeah, she told me we made a commitment and hugged on the fact that I would pay it forward if I made it through.
Pay you will.
Yeah, and so just my history. I'd been in the salon business for 30 years. Absolutely loved it then. Still love it now. Had a very successful salon, the largest salon in town, and things were going great until one day they weren't. I had a mass exodus with 24 of my 60 stylists walked out the door, and they were friends. These are the people that I spent my weekends with. I was single, a lot of single women in the business that we all had developed strong friendships. Our children were friends, and so how I found out that they were leaving is one of my clients was at a local restaurant, and he called me and he said, hey, there's a group of your people here and they're putting together an exodus. And I said, no way. There's no way.
No chance.
There's no chance that's true. And so I went to a couple of them. No, that's not true. We would never do that. We're not leaving. They had some time frame that they were trying to wait it out. It was the holidays, the busiest time of the year, and they were trying to hang on to their positions at Cloud9 and didn't want me to know because they thought I would throw them out. Now, if this were to happen today, in today's world, I would have asked them to leave. But then all I could
maybe along with a public flogging.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Exactly. And so it was true. They left, and every single day I got a note. I still to this day don't leave me a note. If you got something to say, come say. I hate notes. Don't leave a note on my desk because I had 24 notes over about a week-long period with them telling me that they had decided to make the leave and to go down the street as well. And the very first lesson that I think now that comes to my mind from it when I look back is that who am I to think that people aren't going to leave? People are going to leave.
Leave me?
Yes, they do.
My loyal friends?
Yes, they will. And so your responsibility as a business owner is to be prepared for that, and that's what Biz Owners Ed did for me. It saved me. It saved my business.
Did this happen before, during, or shortly after?
It had just happened when I
No
got
wonder you were a
into
basket case. You were that crazy lady that was crying all the time
I was
in
crying all
class.
the time. I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. I didn't know anything else, and I had never given up on anything in my life, and I felt like a failure. I felt like they had to have a reason to leave. They all said there was no reason to leave, but they all left, and so I needed reasons and understanding, and what Biz Owners Ed did for me it's made me look past what was going on then and to start preparing for a future. And so Jay and Betty did so many things for me. You know, Facebook was just starting. I don't even know if I had a Facebook page. And he introduced me to Eva, and she came to the salon, and she taught me about social media. She had written a book on social media. He introduced me to his CPA. He introduced me to so many different people, and he had them come spend time with me.
And what a powerhouse circle.
Dig out of this horrible, horrible hole. There was absolutely $60,000 overnight, basically, walked out the door per month. And there, when you look at it on paper, and I still love to go back and look at it on paper, because there's absolutely no way it ever should have survived. And it survived because I finally could relax and focus on the future and not what I was drowning in. And one day I looked over, and the side of the salon, it was weird, it's kind of, you know, they kind of still to this day have cliques. And so that side of the salon was mostly empty. And I counted, I'm like, there's 4 people over there, and if I moved them over here, that could become a boutique. And so during class, I turned that part of the salon into a boutique, and it had little vendors. You really didn't know that that's what it was, but that's what it was. And so our clients absolutely loved coming in, and while they were processing or whatever, they could shop through the boutique. And so it gave me an income to it wasn't anything like being full, but it provided me something to survive. One of the gentlemen that I met during that time sat with me with my P&L and went through every single number. He said, how long have you had your phone service with him? I'm like, 20 years. He said, call them, tell them what's happened, see what they can do. Thousands and thousands of dollars per month that I was able to save or put on the back burner, or the bank took a mortgage and stuck it on there. And then Jay introduced me to his banker, and we refinanced the loan, which gave me a couple of months free, which, you know, was huge at the time. You know, just survival techniques. And I remember you talk about travel, and I remember that they were planning a trip, and Jay said, you're going to go on this trip with me. I had not met Christopher, and I didn't have a freaking penny to travel for sure. And he said, you're going to be going on this trip, and you need to go ahead and pay the deposit. And I want to say it was $300, and I didn't have $300. And so some friends gave me the $300 and said, we believe in you. And by the time this trip comes around, which I think was about 15 months out from happening, by the time this trip comes around, you're gonna be you're gonna be in a good enough place to go.
Out of the fire.
And yeah, and so in October, after
did they know, or they just believed?
They
just believed when you weren't able to.
Yeah, and that's what the class did for me. Is I was surrounded by successful people, and I was surrounded by people that were excited for their future, and it killed the fear in me. And a fire started burning, and I was like, I will not fail. I will not. If this place go, I mean, Jay kept saying, you own your building. You're so far ahead of so many other business people. You own, you know, your brick and mortar, and it's the smartest thing you ever did. And so I met
I've heard it 1,000 times. I've heard it 1,000 times. The antidote to fear is action.
Action.
Almost any action will do.
Yeah.
Obviously, a targeted, directed, positive action is helpful. But that action you took, you spent that $300. A cruise? I'm crashing in the side of a mountain? Jay, who do you think you are? Telling me I'm going on a cruise.
And 15 months later, I not only was on the cruise, but I was with Christopher, and we were married. And
the next hold on, just for future stories, the Christopher story will be an actual story, and you're going to love that story.
Yeah, he's a godsend, and everyone in that class and the friendships, meeting you and meeting Diane, and I just looked through this room, and I don't know that I wanted to live when I walked into that class, because I couldn't imagine living without being successful, because I'd always been successful, and I couldn't imagine my life and how it would be judged, or how, you know, and I've just gone through the craziest last 2 years of my life, even crazier than that, but in a successful, fun, you know, way. But if you had told me then, you know, with that class, that I would come out on the other side, and that the business would survive, that the team would be the best team, and they're so loyal. I mean, look at what they did. They followed me from Flower Mound, 8,500 square feet to, we're crowded. We're 2 feet apart in a 4,000 square foot building while we build a 16,000 square foot building. I mean,
Yep.
they believe in me. And
you
so,
tear a building down to the foundation and leave the good studs up,
Yeah.
clean out the mold, you got
Yeah.
a great structure.
Yeah.
And
And
I've
I
been
may-
watching it all happen.
I know.
And seeing where you're at right now and transition to what's next. Oh, you wait and see what's next.
yeah. And,
I'm excited.
and, you know, I may lose a group. You know, when we made the announcement, hey, by the way, I'm going to sell this building. We're going to move down the street. Yeah, it's ugly, but we'll only be there for a minute. But then it's going to be really nice. Why don't you come on with me? You know, all but 5 did. And the 5 that didn't come was exactly who should not have come. And we had prayed, my son and I. My son helps me run the business. We had prayed for these 3 particularly that please let them not want to come. And,
That's not a frivolous prayer.
yeah. And they're still with me. We're going to be there 2 years in May. It's taken way longer than when we thought. We're projected to be done with the building in October, and we're just absolutely ecstatic. And from what I've learned in that business, I can't stand behind that from that class, and from Jay, I can't stand behind the chair forever, even though I absolutely love doing it. And my clients are my friends, and they've provided, you know, great income and support and all that. But I can't be there forever. And so this building we're just occupying the upstairs, and the downstairs will be retail. And to have the faith and the lack of fear, and to say, you know, I'm going to make it through this.
So the courage to make it through, get out of the fire. Somebody saw you in the fire, called your name,
Yeah.
come this way.
Yeah.
And you just, you know what, they believed in you when you couldn't believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And can you imagine, you remember you said you couldn't imagine even going on living. Can you imagine living your life now without the people that you're surrounded by?
His
I can't-
angels. I mean,
couldn't
Christopher's an angel.
Rick, ask Kim how much her charities have raised for the community.
imagine. Kim, how much have your charities raised for the community?
I don't know, millions of dollars, but I can tell you this: we have provided 17,500 nights of hotel living for families that are in crisis in the past couple of years. We are averaging right now about 30 to 50 families a month. We get a phone call from a local church or a police officer or another organization that they've found a family that needs our help. We make a phone call. We have relationships with different hotels in Denton County, and within minutes the family's in a hotel. And it's a huge part of what I do.
Kim,
I feel like it's a responsibility.
Your 10 minutes is up. We're gonna pause that story for another time.
Okay.
Kim has 100 incredible stories. We're gonna hear more soon. Kim, thank you so much. I love you so much.
Love you.